I broke my own diet rules and did an aggressive diet for 21 days. And here's what I learned. 21 days ago, I went against everything that I teach my clients and started an aggressive diet. But what is an aggressive diet and why did I go against everything I've built my whole business on, the whole ethos of it? It all started a little bit over 3 weeks ago. I went to an aggressive dieting seminar in London where I learned and unlearned a lot. What I discovered there challenged my beliefs and led me to experiment. I've always said crash diets are dumb. They slow down your metabolism and they make you regain the weight back. We've all been there, right? We've tried low calorie diets and then you get so hungry, you binge, and you gain all that weight back. So when I went to the seminar, I was really skeptical about what I was going to hear. I went in with a mentality of this is going to be bullshit and it's not something that I would ever do. It sounds dumb, but that's not how I left the seminar. So an aggressive diet is where you eat in an aggressive deficit. So your deficit is anything under your maintenance calories. And I've always said it should be a couple of hundred and never, ever, ever go below your BMR. So your BMR is your basal metabolic rate, and this accounts for about 70% of the calories that you burn every single day. So if you were to lay in bed all day, you would burn your BMR and that's it. That's all of the chemical reactions that your body needs to live. And one of the key influences of this is muscle mass. So surely if you eat below your BMR, your body's going to start to shut down because now it hasn't got the energy to survive. And then your body will start to eat into muscle to get those calories / energy to live, which will then bring down your BMR, making it more difficult to lose weight and easier to gain fat. But here's where it gets interesting. There's two main things that you need to make sure that you're doing when aggressive dieting to make sure that you don't burn muscle and that you do lose fat and not regain it all back. I'll share those two things at the end, but first let's talk about my experience on this 21-day experiment. These are the 3 things that I took from the aggressive dieting seminar that made me reconsider my stance on aggressive and super low calorie diets and actually give it a go. The first thing was that the amount of deficit that you're in, so if you're eating 200 calories below maintenance or 800 calories below maintenance, your hunger doesn't amplify or multiply like you would expect. I would expect to be 4 times as hungry on an 800 calorie deficit than a 200 calorie deficit. This is not the case. And this really got me interested because I hate being hungry. And I thought this would be like a real no, but there was science to back it. Number 2, if you do this right, you will burn fat and maintain muscle in the shortest amount of time. And I know that is really appealing to most people. We want results like yesterday, if possible. And this is potentially a way to do it. And number 3, fat regain is less when compared to a longer, slower term weight loss attempt, diet, whatever you want to call it. And this really perked my ears up. I can eat in an extreme diet without feeling really hungry. I can burn fat and maintain muscle, so not eating into the muscle, so my metabolism stays sound. And I can do it in a short amount of time without the risk of regaining it back as quick. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? But the whole seminar was backed by science, and this is something that I am really keen on. I don't care if Martha down the road told you that she did this and it worked. If it is not backed by science, I don't really want to hear about it. So for the last 8 months or so, I just haven't been able to shift about 12 pounds. I've been up and down the same 5 pounds consistently. And I really wanted to drop about 12 pounds to get back into my comfortable body. Another thing that I liked about the diet, which really pushed me into doing it actually, was the fact you didn't have to do cardio. In fact, you're not supposed to do cardio. You're supposed to avoid cardio in this diet. So I was like, okay, well, I want the results. I don't want to do cardio. I don't want to be hungry. Let's give it a go. And even though the science was there to say you're not going to be hungry, I love food. I love chocolate. I love pizza. I just love eating. And so I knew that this is going to be a mental challenge, more so than a physical one. And it was a huge leap outside of my comfort zone. And it's not like I haven't done low calorie diets before. I have done them. But when I did them before, I don't know why I was doing it. I was just eating as little as possible and moving as much as possible because I thought that's how you lost weight. I thought that was the way to do it. Is when I first started trying to lose weight and I had no clue. Basically, just did what I thought I was supposed to do. The aggressive diet is different. So here are my starting pictures. I was starting at around 147.2 pounds and I really wanted to get to around 135. But after not eating very much for a long period of time, I knew that I would lose fat, but also I'd lose things like gut content, water levels. So I aimed for 133 so that when I eat again and my water weight increases and my gut content increases, I will sit around 135. That's what I thought. So how did I work out the calories that I needed for the aggressive diet? Like I said, it's not about eating as little as possible. There is a specific equation based on your body fat percentage, on your height, on your measurements, on your goal, where you're starting, your diet history. It encompasses a lot of different factors and then gives you your specific numbers. Not only calories, but also your macros, which is really important and something I'll talk about in a bit. But that's something that a lot of people, when they're on low-calorie diets, don't consider. The macros are important. This equation also gives you the potential of maximal fat loss whilst maintaining muscle. It gives you a range of numbers. So depending on how much you want to lose, how quickly you want to do it, and how risk averse you are to losing muscle mass, that will give you different calculations, different calories, and different macros. I'm going to share with you my numbers at the end, but first I want to tell you a little bit about my experience actually doing the diet. So I've been doing this diet now for about 3 weeks. I've had one refeed, which again has been programmed in, and honestly the results are wild. The way I think about food has really changed, and the diet's actually made me realize how much of an emotional eater I am. I didn't think I was that much, but if I've had some bad news about like injuries or I'm getting stressed out, I find myself like heading to the dark chocolate and just like grabbing it. But when you're on such a low calorie diet and you're really conscious about eating and not eating, it makes you realize I don't actually need that food. I'm not actually hungry. And I just think back about all the times that I have been stressed out or busy or whatever. And I think, how many calories have I emotionally eaten? I actually realized that I can train fasted as well. I actually used to train fasted in my old corporate job. I used to go to the gym at 5 a.m. But since I've got more flexibility running the business, I tend to go to the gym after breakfast and a pre-workout snack. And it ends up being around 1 p.m. But on this diet, like I said, I do not like to be hungry. I try to push my first meal back to around 11 or later. So I've been going to the gym fasted about 9 and then doing my post-workout meal and the first meal of the day, breaking my fast after that. So it's not like I'm going to get PBs or anything. I'm just going to maintain muscle. So having the mindset around like why you're working out is super important as well. And planning is key. It doesn't matter what calories you're on. If you want to be successful, you need to plan your meals. And it was a challenge because even though I was on really low calories, my protein was still quite high. I still had to hit a regular number of protein targets where most people will struggle to hit that even if they've got 2,000 calories. And when you're eating such low calories, you don't want to be drinking those calories either, right? Like using a protein shake. So you really need to be planning food that are filling, that fits with your macros and low calories. So it doesn't matter what calories you're on. This is a tip for everybody. I tended to plan like 2 to 3 different days of eating, and then I would just like rotate them throughout the week. I honestly pretty much just ate the same thing every day, but I did have 2 or 3 different menus that I could choose from, which I know hit my macros and my calories. And people always ask me, does it get boring eating the same food day in, day out? And I'm like, no. What's boring is me complaining about how I don't like my body, but I'm not doing anything about it. Me complaining is boring. So I'd much rather eat boring food or eat the same thing consistently and actually get results and then be able to eat more flexibly when I am happy. So then I don't have to complain about anything. And my final tip is keep busy. That is the winning thing to do. If you really want to be able to do an aggressive diet, just keep busy. So many people used to tell me like, oh, I just don't eat because I forget. And I'm like, how can you just forget to eat? My whole day is like based around meals. When I'm eating breakfast, I'm thinking, what am I having for my snack? But now I delay that first meal till after my gym workout. And then I just stay busy. I work non-stop all the way up until my second meal. I fill up with things like water, tea, and like Diet Coke or Coke Zero or Pepsi Max. I just fill up my body with liquids as much as possible and keep busy. And then that way I can get through the day without really thinking about food or feeling hungry. And on that note, my cravings for carbs have actually decreased as well. I always used to feel like after a meal I need like a treat or a sweet, and that's actually dissipated now. So it sounds awesome, right? Are there any bad points, Faye? Yes. Yes, there are. Like all diets, there's downsides. Going out for food is pretty much off limits. I went out for food once during my aggressive diet and I fasted pretty much all the way up until the evening. So I was really hungry. And then when I went, I had a chicken salad with extra chicken. And that's fine. But I was sat opposite someone who was having like burger and fries, and I wanted burger and fries. I wanted it so bad. And I know there are versions of me that would have given in and be like, oh, it's just once, it's going to be fine. I've done so well. I'm doing a good job. I deserve it. So the easiest thing to do is not go out for food. And also we can't track appropriately when you're eating out because you don't know what oils they use. You don't know the calories and the sauces. You don't know the amount of things that you're eating. So it's easier just not to eat out if you're going to do an aggressive diet. Number 2, if you do not like chicken, fish, eggs, or beef, like lean beef, this is not the diet for you. It is very, 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 very difficult to hit your protein targets if you are plant-based. We know this. But now you're on low calories, it's even more of a challenge. If you're one of those people who like to have different things every day, you like the flexibility, you like to see how you feel that day, like this is not the diet for you. Don't do it. You will not enjoy it. With every diet, you can have flexibility, quick results, or sustainability. You can have 2 of those, but you can't have all 3. And the other down point was there was a week where I fluctuated between 140.2 and 140.6, something like that, for a full week. Even though I was eating the same thing day in, day out, I was staying as active as the day before, and you would expect, because I was on such low calories, that my weight would just plummet. But there's about a week where it did not. And it was annoying, but I wasn't upset about it. I didn't get emotional about it. I didn't give up. And I think a lot of people would have in that circumstance. So if you get really affected by the scale, like don't do this. If you feel like you eat because you've done well or you don't eat because you've done badly, you cannot do this diet. And it goes without saying, if you've got a history of eating disorders, this is not the diet for you either. It's just unsafe. But if you're one of those people who thrives on pressure, loves a mental and a physical challenge, and you want quick results, I think this could really work for you. I'm thinking high-performing women, entrepreneurs, C-suite executives, managers. These are the kind of women who will really do well on this kind of diet. Now, obviously, there are things to be aware of when it comes to aggressive dieting. The first thing is you need a plan either side of the diet. So you have a prep phase and you also have a post phase. So you have to have a prep diet before you go in. You can't just go into an aggressive diet. Super important. Now, what that prep phase looks like depends on you, your individual circumstances, how you've been eating, how you train, and all of these other things. During the diet, you have refeeds and you have diet breaks. Now, this depends on you, your individual circumstances, but also how long you do it for, your rate of loss, how you're feeling mentally, physically. So there are lots of different nuances and different moving parts to this diet. It's not something you can just decide, yeah, I'm going to do it today, I'm not going to do it tomorrow. Don't feel like it tomorrow, don't feel like it today, I'm going to start again next week. You have to commit to this for a certain number of time or a certain period of time before you can stop or have a refeed or give up. So the diet needs mapping out, and it's based on things like your body fat percentage, your weight, how you train, diet history, how extreme you want to go, how much you've got to lose, the rate of which you choose to lose it, whether you're male or female, and so much more. And like I mentioned, you need a plan post-diet also. So you need a pre-diet plan, your diet plan, and then the post-exit strategy to avoid fat overshoot. And now if you want to know what fat overshoot is, I will link our video to that in the description. But essentially, it's when you gain back more fat than what you lost, and no one wants that. This diet is high risk, high reward, and that's why it's really important that you are either trained in doing it or you work with someone who is trained in doing it. And because I've gone through it and Cam's gone through it, we're actually going to be launching a 5-person case study all about the aggressive diet. So if this is something like, do you know what, I'm ambitious, I want a challenge, I can commit to these things, I weight train, that's something you need to be able to do. I don't have a history of eating disorders and I'm really committed to something like this, then comment below and I will shoot over the link for the application to apply to be a case study for the aggressive diet. So my numbers, and I stress to you, these are my numbers. I don't know how many times through this whole video I've said this is based on individual circumstances, individual body fat, individual da-da-da. And also every time you lose weight and you have a diet break, you need to like change the numbers, right? So the numbers they do change as you change. Every individual has different numbers. We have got some clients who are on less than what I was on, and we've got some clients who are on a lot more than what I was on. So I cannot stress, do not use these numbers. These are my numbers for my situation. So I actually started on between 750 and 800 calories a day, and the target was around 120 grams of protein. By day 13, I had lost 7 pounds. And honestly, I think it would have been more, but like I said, I had that weird plateau and also I was due on my period. So it just didn't budge for a long time. And then I had my refeed, my scheduled refeed at day 13. So after that, obviously my weight went back up to 143.2. People's refeeds are at different days. So mine was day 13, but we've had clients who have got day 21, 32, 46, 582. So you really need to be, again, trained in this to know when to offer refeeds and when to delay them. So after my gain of the couple of pounds, I had obviously lost weight before that, so I based my new calculations on those results. So my weight, my measurement, everything else stayed the same. And this time I was on about 850 to 1,000 calories a day. So that does seem like quite a jump from 750. But I did stick to around the 800, 850 because I'd had those meals kind of planned out. I just had like a couple of handfuls more of, I don't know, cheese, for example. So after my refeed, I went back onto the aggressive diet, and a week later, I dropped down to 138 pounds. So that's 5 and a bit pounds lost in a week. So my goal is to keep going until about 133 pounds, like I mentioned earlier. And then I will come out of it. I've got my exit strategy plan ready. And I know that I will gain weight. So mentally, I'm already preparing for the weight gain. If you want to follow my aggressive diet journey, you can head over to my Instagram. I've documented it all in there. I've got like a little highlight on my page about the foods I'm eating, my struggles, what I'm feeling, my pictures, like all of the things are in that highlight. I'll put my link in the description. So tell me, is this something that you would try, or is it something you would avoid like the plague? Honestly, I never thought I would do something like this. I thought it was dumb, but it's backed by science and I'm willing to experiment on myself. So let me know in the comments, is this something you would give a go? Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay strong.